What's up everyone? Back with another live stream, this time talking about Shazam. We're just going to go over Shazam, just review it. I've already done a review on my channel, spoiler free, you can go watch that if you don't want to discuss spoilers, but I'm going to go over that review and then go into spoilers as well. You guys get to talk about it. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it, you know, because I saw a lot of people saying they saw it yesterday. A lot of people saw it, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I think. Well, not a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago with the early screening. So, yeah, hope you're having a good Friday, wherever you are. Let's see, I'm going to bring up the chat. We'll wait a minute or two before I let everyone come in to the stream. Who's in here? We've got Yamo Knight, Silent K, Tams Gaming. Tams Gaming says, Savannah is greater than Thanos. If you say so. I've got the Chinese Shazam poster here. I like the look of it. I couldn't find the one without the text, but there you go. I like the poster. So, if you've not seen my spoiler-free review, I talked about Shazam. I quite liked it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I liked the cast, liked the villain, liked most of the effects were fine. The music. A lot of people saying that the musical score was not very good. I'm like, I don't see that. Like, I don't know why. I don't know where people are getting that from. I thought it was quite... fair enough, it didn't have the kind of personal touch, like the unique kind of feel to it, like Aquaman's score or Wonder Woman, of course, Hans Zimmer's BBS and Man of Steel. It didn't match up to that, but what was there I thought was quite good. Kind of had that kind of 90s heroic kind of Hollywood score, which I quite liked. But we'll go into, you know, the things I didn't like about the movie, right? Now, Zachary Levi, first of all. Zachary Levi I quite like. He was really good. A likeable hero. He was a very, just kind of, his performance was very likeable. And Asher Angel, I think, this kid's really good. I'd like to see him in other movies, but here, played his Billy Batson perfectly. His friend, right, whose name I forgot, but there was a point in the film where I was like, he has a go at Shazam, right, after he saved the bus, and I was like, he's talking about, you're just a bully now, you think you're something special and all this, and I want to rewatch that scene again, because he came across as a dick. He came across. He was the one coming across as selfish, and he was having a go at Shazam for being selfish. I was like, so there were some weird elements like that. What else did I not like? The whole kind of mother, the thing about Billy Batson's mother, which it felt very poorly handled. You know, I'm not sure if it's in the comics. I don't know if it's a big thing in the comics, but, you know, the story is that she kind of left. They were at this kind of fair, right? And when Billy Batson was really young, they get separated. And that's it. She just kind of disappeared. And you're like, what? He couldn't find her on that day? He went to the cops. He's sitting on the police car and they say, oh, I'm sure we'll find your mum. But then all of us, you know, that was the backstory. And since then he's been in, you know, foster home and, you know, he's been orphaned. Is like, how? And then it turns out later on, right, he finally finds his mum. And she's like, oh yeah, I was a young girl and I didn't want to have kids. And I saw you there at, you know, at the fair and the police had found you. And yeah, I'm sure they would take care of you and you'll have a better life with some other family than you would with me. I was like, what? And I just thought it was really weak, really bad. And in a way I kind of get, right, so he's found her, and then even now she's like, my life is still messed up, so I don't know what you want from me. And he's like, fine. And he gives her the little thing back, the little kind of compass thing. He says, maybe you need this more than me. It's I see what they're going for, because it was like something really sad, and it's not something that you normally see in like a comic book movie where it's like really emotional and heartbreaking, but I just thought it felt a bit forced. So that was my main kind of criticism with the movie. The 7 deadly sins, looking at the comics, at least the comics had, each one has a kind of a personality to them, like at least visually. I'm not sure about, I've not read the comics, but it looks like they had some kind of character and they have their own appearance. Here they all just look the same. They're all kind of gargoyle-ish creatures, all brown and dark brown, so goblin-looking creatures. So that was kind of disappointing. But that moment where Dr. Savannah, he goes into the boardroom meeting and he throws his brother out the window. I thought it's kind of vicious, but it was funny as fuck. He throws his brother out the window. Then the creatures come out and one of them bites the guy's head off. You don't see any blood. You don't see it actually decapitating, but bites them. So that was kind of, prepare your kids. If you're going to take your kids, that's something you need to keep in mind. The whole room gets wiped out, so it's just him and his dad. And there's a really nice shot where Mark Strong, he kind of walks around the table. He's standing at the end of the table, and across from him are the 7 deadly sins, and they're kind of standing there. I thought that shot was awesome. It's so good. And then so he gets rid of his dad and takes over, I think, the company, I'm not sure. But so that is the opening scene is where, of the movies where the young Savannah, he's in a car with his dad and his brother, and they're always like picking on him and being harsh on him. And then the wizard, Jimon Honsu, he brings the kid out of the reality into the lair, whatever it's called. And he's like they have this discussion, and then the kid is kind of drawn to the evil power, and the wizard is like, no, you're not right for this. So he sends him back, and since then Savannah's been trying to get back to that place. So it was a good intro. It was quite different. Let's see who's in here. Yes, DC versus Marvel podcast. I did like the movie, yes. Some of you say it was okay. Hey, Dr. Ooze, if you're available, you can try and call me on Skype. See if it works. You've got the address there on screen. Who else is here? So, and I thought the pacing of the film was quite good. It kind of went along quite nicely. Didn't have any kind of down parts. The other kids were quite good, So there's nothing about the other kids that could have been, maybe they could have had more dialogue, and they came across it like kind of cliche-ish. The kid playing the video games all the time. The stuff about the girl trying to get into college, to kind of get, was it college? I can't remember. Uni. Kind of went nowhere. What else? I mean, I probably will give it another watch, but the film doesn't really have that much depth to it. There's not much kind of talking parts. There's not much to talk about. It's not much to get your teeth into, but everything that's there, it's fun, it's funny, it's wish fulfillment, as all the critics are saying. There's no way the film's like a 93% or whatever it is on Rotten Tomatoes. No way is it that good. Let me just fix my camera here. So if you're thinking about, where does this fit in with the DCEU? I would say Man of Steel, right? Still the king, right? BVS, a little bit behind it. So if Man of Steel is 5 out of 5, BVS is 4.5 out of 5, yes, even the Ultimate Cut. I would now put Wonder Woman and Aquaman joint third, 4 out of 5, right? Shazam, fourth, 3.5 out of 5. Suicide Squad, 3 out of 5. And Justice League, we're just going to forget until we get the Snyder cut. So that's my updated rankings. Hello Clorox, hello Jose M. We have Khalil and Ray and alright, maybe we might get Dr Ooze in here. I'll put my headphones on because then we'll need to think. Well, should I put my headphones on? Yeah, I think I will. Yeah. I've ordered a new pair of headphones, the Lucid Sound LS41. So I'll be able to stream. Oh, here comes Dr Ooze. Alright, Dr Ooze, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me is a question.
Yeah, it's a bit choppy.
Give me a second. Just hold it, let's see what's going on here. It says something about because there's a recording device on or something.
Well, you're sounding better, so I can hear you now.
Okay, fine. So, what did you think about about that Superman coming at the end?
Oh yeah, that's what that's what I was going to get to. Oh man, the Superman. That's a missed opportunity because that's like you never got to see Superman meeting Shazam for the first time, and what did they say to each other, and what happened, what was the circumstances. So that was just so. If anyone, I'm sure it will. If you guys are now watching this stream, then you know. Either you know what happened or you don't care. So at the end, the kid, he's like at school and he's at the lunch table, And all the other kids, they're like, oh, he's not friends with Shazam. He's just talking crap. And then Shazam turns up and he's like, yeah, this, hang on, let me sort out my microphone. So yeah, Shazam's like, he is my best friend. He's so cool, and I've brought along another friend of mine. And then in comes Superman, but you don't see his face. You just see his chest and his symbol and the Superman S sign, and it's the man. It's not. Is it the Man of Steel costume, or is it the Justice League?
It's the Justice League one, because you can see it's got the light blue, kind of shading on it. So straight away, I'm just like, oh, why did he use the wrong suit anyway? But also as well, I can imagine, like, if they, because Superman then turns up and then he's standing there with his kind of like lunch tray. If he just sat down and it was Cavill, the theater that I was in, I saw it on the 27th. So when I saw it, it was completely packed, basically, and I could literally imagine if Cavill sat down, everybody would just be cheering, because it would have been such a awesome kind of ending. Because the one problem that I had with Shazam is basically by the time it was getting to that kind of stage, I was starting to tune out a little bit, because the problem is that. As you've kind of said, Man of Steel has got the GOAT, fight scenes basically in it. And then you compare that to the Shazam stuff where they're kind of doing the same thing. They're flying through around buildings and him fighting against, Dr. Savannah and stuff. And then you try and compare that with Man of Steel, and always in the back of your mind, you got Man of Steel is a million times better in terms of this fight scene. And it just made me tune out completely of kind of watching it. It was to me, it's a bit odd, because it's kind of like if you're aiming this towards kids, right? It's way too long, right? It goes on way too long, man. Because I can imagine my kids would definitely love this, but after probably an hour and a bit, they'd be tuning out. And then 2 hours is way, way too long. So, I can understand they kind of wanted to target it, because it is kind of like a story where there's a little kid who grows up to become a superhero. It's the kind of thing that is really aimed at kids. But at the same time, then they've made it too long because they've tried to follow certain templates, which is probably why the critics are going absolutely crazy about it, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I thought with the budget that they have, with a smaller budget, I thought the action scenes were pretty much what I expected. What do you think? I mean, what was the post-credit scenes? Because I never watched the second one. I watched the first one with the Dr. Savannah. He's in the cell. He's trying to write down the symbols and stuff. Then you hit that little, what was it, a caterpillar, a worm, and Mr. Mind.
Yeah, that was just so.
And he's got the little voice box. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was just hilarious. That reminded me of. Do you remember this film back in the day called Labyrinth? Right, but with David Bowie, and basically at the start, the girl is kind of looking for the Goblin King, and basically she goes through this thing, and this caterpillar turns up and starts telling her all the ways to go around this maze and stuff like that. It just triggered that off in my mind as soon as I kind of saw that. But I love the fact that they're going bizarre on this, because they do exactly the same thing on Doom Patrol as well. Doom Patrol is just full on bizarre, and this they kind of have embraced the Shazam part of it. The second one, what was the second one? It was I can't even remember. It was like Shazam talking to to his new brothers and sisters, basically. Where I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just a nonsense scene. There was nothing really in it or anything like that,
Right. Okay. I kind of brought up my phone. I searched for it while the credits were rolling, and was like, "Oh, it's just something about them talking about other superheroes or something." Yeah, it was. And I just left. I was like, "No, I'm not interested."
No, it's a total waste of time, basically seeing that bit there. I mean, I kind of like the fact that they kept it a bit separate, so it does kind of stand on its own. But the one thing that always worries me about when stuff like Shazam comes out, and it worried me a bit when Aquaman came out there as well, is that the critics have got this kind of idea in their head that it's like, if you have a superhero-based film, it has to be all funny and jokey and like, you have to basically like, make fun out of it in effect. So it has to be like a parody. Like the one that they rave about the most, Thor Ragnarok, is basically a parody of the superhero kind of thing. And it's pretty much ruins an amazing story in World War Hulk and the Thor Ragnarok arc.
You should have seen the reaction on Twitter from the verifies when the Joker trailer came out. They were like, "What? Why does this so dark and so disturbing? All the incels have a hero now." I was like, "What are that?" They got triggered so bad.
Yeah, and I guess probably because he's from a certain demographic, right? He's like a white guy who is not having decent time in life or something, and that's kind of bit un-PC nowadays, right? Of saying something like that. But it's just like the thing is that all of these have to have kind of like a different kind of tone, and that's the main thing, like a shameless plug that me and Ash always talk about on the podcast, right? Is that basically the main kind of criticism I have of like MCU stuff is that it's basically changed everybody's mindset into thinking that every film has to be like this, right? Yeah. And as soon as you do that, you've created big problems, because when there was like recently there was a Predator film, right? And it came out and they recut half of the stuff because the audience didn't like it. And it's like, is this a proper audience who actually do like Predator films and and do like Alien films, or do like all these kind of things, or is this an audience who's been conditioned by MCU films to want a certain template, and then are suddenly like, oh no, it doesn't fit, and then you've got to change everything to match it? And that's the thing that worried me a little bit about Aquaman and Shazam, that it's like, wait a second, we have to suddenly now make all of our stuff become that way to fit the audience, rather than changing the audience to fit to fit our template, which is what I really like about what they've done about the Joker, because the Joker is like, we're not ashamed of showing this character the way that it is.
Yeah, and then so once that's come and gone, and then we're going to have Birds of Prey, which is again hopefully still R-rated, so that'll be it'll be the same people who are like, this is a step back for DC. Anyway, we've got Jose M. He says, Dr. Ooze, you are dropping some damn truth bombs. We have, let's see, Jose M. also said, what did you think about the credit style? I loved the end credits, the kind of animated drawings on paper. I thought that was awesome. We had the Ramones song, right?
Yeah.
Because yesterday I watched Pet Sematary, which was pretty average and nothing special. And then the end credits music was like a Ramones song, the Pet Sematary, but it wasn't Ramones. It was a cover version of it, which was very weak. It was very weak sounding. It was very bland. And at least Warner Brothers here for Shazam got the actual Ramones song for this. It's called I Don't Want to Grow Up, which is quite suitable for this movie. So it was really, really good animation. It had all the kind of Justice League characters in there as well. What did you think of it?
Yeah, no, I liked it. I liked the end credit thing. I thought it fit really well with the with the rest of the film there, basically. I like the way that they've actually gone about Shazam. Although I didn't think the film was like the best film ever, it kind of just makes you think, man, about, we always bring it back to Zack, right? And it's kind of like, can you imagine, like, if we did have Zack's actual template, and then it's like when you see the animated, Justice League War and stuff like that there, and you see how much of, Shazam is like, he's completely like a fish out of water kind of thing in, you know, when the Justice League are there, and the way that he acts like a little kid and stuff like that. I could imagine him going into that and just like, you know, Ben Affleck's Batman just turning around and being like, what the hell is this guy, like, you know, coming into Justice League? It's just honestly, when I hear stuff about, you know, oh, suddenly now, you know, DC's made a great like turnaround and stuff like that. And it's like, it didn't ever need to make a turnaround. It just needed to have a separate kind of, you know, you have these separate kind of characters which don't really need to be linked into anything, but then, they all have their own separate personalities. This is once again another problem that I say about the MCU after when, you know, me and Ash went and watched Captain Marvel, is that basically the main problem is that the audience is so used to the same type of film every single time that they've hemmed themselves into a corner and they can't do anything else that is apart from that, right? Yeah. The one thing about DC, in a way, right? Okay, you have had the critics saying, you know, we didn't like this, we didn't like that, and you've also had, not so much money being made as the MCU stuff. I put that as a positive, because then what that means is that there's less pressure. You know, you get less pressure, and then you're like, okay, fine. Well, now we can let our directors do what they need to do and express the characters in the way that they want. I kind of feel that if we didn't get Man of Steel, BVS, we wouldn't be getting stuff like Titans. We wouldn't be getting stuff like Doom Patrol, because, you know, it would be like, if we had that MCU template that was going right from the start, and it was such that, you know, they were like, right, this is successful. We've made $1.8 billion from Batman v Superman in this, like, you know, completely candy floss kind of, forgettable kind of film. They would just keep following that template, and we'd never end up getting stuff like, you know, like Titans, like Doom Patrol, you know, a separate kind of thing like Shazam, you know, Aquaman. Now, basically, you know, you have this chance now where they can go wherever they like. You know, the first film has done what it's got to do, and they can do whatever turn. They've built this kind of fan base, basically. And I think I would hopefully that the new kind of people that are in charge would let that go.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, because, I mean, what was Aquaman? Aquaman made what, 75 million, something like that, opening weekend in the US. Yeah. Shazam's kind of tracking for 50 million, something like that. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see what Shazam does. But I think it'll be profitable. I don't think it's going to be a bomb or anything. But yeah. So,
I mean, I'm just looking at the stuff now, and I'm just thinking, you know, obviously, you know, you are the film gob, right? So you talk about all different types of film. I'm just looking at the slates now, and, you know, how people like really rejoicing about Disney and Fox joining together, right? Oh, Disney and Fox, we got the X-Men. Okay, fine.
The X-Men are coming back, mate. Don't care about people losing jobs. The X-Men are coming back.
Exactly. We've got a whole studio that literally closed down the next day. Like, how many people lost their jobs from that, right? But then also at the same time, if you look at the slate, we look at 2019 slate, and we know now Disney and Fox deal has kind of gone through. You look at it, and we've already had multiple Disney films that have already come out at the start of this year, right? You've just had Dumbo that's come through. We've got Toy Story 4, we've got Aladdin, we've got Lion King, we've got Frozen 2. You've got Star Wars coming through there as well. You've got Avengers Endgame. Obviously, you've got the Sony stuff there as well, you know, like the Spider-Man and things like that. But it's like you literally having one studio which is almost completely dominating over everything else in terms of its release, right? Just can release continuous churning after churning after churning. And it's like, for me, that is a major problem, because then when you have, like, you know, studio, obviously Universal's a big studio, but you have something like Paramount, which could potentially release certain things. Paramount, to me, I reckon is going to be gone, you know, within 5 years or so, because they can't compete with Universal, Warner Brothers and Disney, right? and then at that point, all it does is you can have this little like rejoicing at the start, like, oh yeah, we're going to get X-Men, but it's like, you do understand that the creativity is going to be shut down massively by restricting the amount of studios that can like produce stuff and distribute it there as well. And like, did you see this thing somebody posted on, I think it was, they're called NUE Cinemas. Yeah,
No.
in America, it's like a chain there, and it's a chain in India as well. Apparently, they've got a problem with Shazam or something. There's some kind of licensing problem, so they're not showing Shazam at any of their things, and instead it's going to be replaced by Captain Marvel.
Wow.
Have you seen?
I've not seen that, no.
It's called NUE, I think NUE Cinemas, and I think it's like there's a guy, he posted it up on one of the DC forums that I'm on on Facebook. I'm just having a look, and I can just see where this new cinemas is, because it's kind of like, yeah, Newplex Cinemas. Yeah, so I think these Newplex Cinemas are in Pakistan and India.
Right, okay.
So that none of them are showing any any Shazam. It's basically just going to be. It's just going to instead you're going to see Captain.
So it's down to our followers to go and watch the Shazam like 10 times each.
Exactly, man. Oh, did you you obviously you never saw Captain Marvel, right?
No.
Okay, well don't, because he does the bullet. He does the bullet there, kind of big time, because that is really, really, really mediocre, man. It's like just when you kind of just, it's just like something's done without any heart or anything in it. It's just done by the numbers, and it follows a certain template, and you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. I checked your review.
Yeah.
And it sounds like everything I expect it to be. It sounds like everything the trailers kind of confirmed. I saw the train scene, the train scene where I saw another bit of it online, and it was just. I need to watch this movie for my followers. I would like to watch some of these movies just to have a laugh at them.
You know what you should do? You should do watch throughs, man, because honestly, like it'll be hilarious, because this film, like, okay, so before they were like, this film is like Terminator 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're gonna watch it, spoilers. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it for you. But there's a scene where basically she goes up to this guy, right, and this guy is. Because we all know what Brie Larson's like, right? Off the film and stuff. And this guy's coming up to her and is like, "Oh, hey, darling, give us a smile, yeah." He's like coming up to her, and he's a biker, right? He's a biker. Right. So he basically goes into the shop, and she like steals his bike and his steals his bike and his jacket and stuff, and like rides off on his bike. And then there's a scene of her riding off on his bike, and that is meant to be the Terminator 2 tribute. And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm just like, there's so much cringe going through my body right there and then. It's like, I had literally it was so bad. It was, oh goodness me, I'm actually it was terrible.
Let's get back on track. Let's get back onto the original Captain Marvel, Shazam. Yeah. What other highlights did you have of this movie? What other things did you like?
Okay, I like the now I had this thing in films when you're portraying like families and stuff like that. Because obviously I've got my own family and stuff, and I like the way that the foster dad was like portrayed in this film. That he was like trying his best, but he was like, you see a lot of films there nowadays, and it's like you have this kind of like the parents are always like the bad guys, and it's like, don't listen to your parents and you achieve your dreams and all this kind of stuff. But these guys, I really like the kind of way that it is, and I like the kind of the family dynamic that they had there as well. And it when they when they all got their kind of superpowers and stuff, and they kind of helped each other out. I like that because it was kind of like it was very much in step with the movie. When I saw what's his name is again, Mark Strong. I love Mark Strong, man. He was such a missed opportunity as Sinestro, because Sinestro, when he played Sinestro, he was I thought he was great as it. And when you see the end bit, when you're thinking, okay, he's going to become the Yellow Lantern and stuff in the previous Green Lantern film, you thought, okay, he could actually really pull this off, and he does pull off a bad guy basically.
Yeah.
I did like that bit there as well. Obviously, all the stuff that harked back to the previous films, like the Man of Steel stuff and the Batarang and all those kind of things. There is that kid who was, I can't remember what his name was, Billy's roommate, who had all the memorabilia. I mean, that's basically what I was like at his age. I had all that kind of stuff, So it just reminded me of that. I mean, it was just like it was a feel good kind of film basically, and it was just it was nothing out of the ordinary, but it had a very Christmassy feel, I thought.
Yeah, it's weird when you get these Christmassy movies that come out, months later after Christmas. I did like the kind of reference to Big when he starts dancing on. He finds himself on the piano.
Oh yeah.
And then Dr. Stefan just kind of runs up to him and just they get crash out the window. I like that. I see the Batarang comes into play later on.
Yes.
The kid throws at the Savannah's head.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah, it's kind of like they haven't tried to forget the other films there either. But at the same time, they've the way that they've made this, I kind of, when I watched some of the trailers, I thought to myself, oh, you know what? It's possibly going to be a little bit cringe in this film. But generally, I thought, most of the jokes and stuff were played off well. And they weren't, weren't kind of as cringeworthy as I've seen in some other films. And when they were played for 4 or 5 seconds and then done. As opposed to some of them where they just run the joke on so long it becomes unfunny. So it's overall decent. The suit looked way better. I was a big critic of the suit, right? Before. Because I really thought that in the photos and stuff it looked like unnatural. But the thing is that because it's made by Ironhead Studios, which is one of the big mistakes that Justice League made there as well, is that Ironhead Studios made all the costumes. They made the Wonder Woman one, the Aquaman one, all of that. The original BVS and Man of Steel, but the Justice League ones they didn't make. So if you see the way that Ben Affleck moves in his suit and stuff, it's just really uncomfortable and restrictive. Ironhead Studios made the Shazam one. Right, and there was a lot of talk about how expensive and stuff it was, but you could see the quality of the suit actually when it came to it, how good it actually looked on screen. I was quite impressed with the way that it looked, because I didn't think it looked that great in the photos, but on the screen it looked great. Did you see it in 3D IMAX, or did you see it on 2D or
just regular 2D? So I didn't. I mean, I thought I saw the suit. I didn't kind of look at it too much. I was more kind of interested into Zachary Levi, his performance, and he was so he kind of distracted you from the suit.
Yeah, no, Zachary Levi's performance is good, man. I thought it's pretty decent. And pretty much all of them did kind of, okay. I mean, you had the same, similar kind of cliches, like, Mary Marvel wants to get out of there. But, she then decides that family's the best kind of thing. That was very much like a 90s film. You've seen that kind of thing many, many times there before, but otherwise, overall, I'd say it's a decent film. But if somebody comes and says to me, "Oh, you've got a choice now, that you can only watch one film, either this or Man of Steel, or either this or BVS," then I'd be like, "Mate, is that even a decision?" Because there's a very big difference in epicness of these films. This is kind of like, you watch it, okay, it's decent, you get a bit of a laugh, family film, watch it while, you're having dinner or something like that. And the other ones there are events. I wouldn't describe this as an event. It was more like a decent film, and it's something you could probably watch on TV. It's not a huge experience,
One thing I did notice, when any movie starts, you get the certification at the start.
Yeah.
And there were so many kind of warnings on this film, like some language, some threat, some this, some that. I was like, just give us give us the adult version then. So,
Exactly.
Release the adult version of Shazam. That's what I would prefer. It's like, they want to make, you can tell that they would want to go a bit more adult with this, but they weren't allowed, or, Warner Bros. Were like, no, let's keep it, for the family, for the kids. So it's like you lose out on some things, and it's just annoying. I'm trying to bring it up. So, what was your rating for this film? What would you give a rating for it?
Well, I can't remember what I gave it in my review. I think it was like 7.5. I think it's like 7.5 out of 10. Because it was decent, I'd say it's like, it was a good film, whatever. But the thing is like, I can watch BVS even now, and even now I'll pick up something and I'll be like, oh, wait a second, I missed that, and you suddenly pick up a new kind of thread in the film, or the problem with Shazam is like, you watched it once, I've watched it once and I've watched it now. I probably won't watch it again unless I watch it with the kids. And there was just little stuff like, the score was decent, but it was like, there were certain little things that kind of annoyed me. Like when he was doing a superhero-y thing, there was a really superhero-y, theme to it. Yeah. And you can only really tell once you actually watch the film what I mean, but it was a really like, oh look, yeah, here he is, he's the Superman, he's like a great superhero character, and it was so obvious, like, oh, this is a superhero-y moment, this is a superhero-y tune, and it's not something you can put on, put a CD on in your car and like listen to, and then be like, I just kind of listen to Man of Steel or BVS or Dark Knight or whatever. It is specifically for this film, and it was, it's the kind of thing, when it comes on Boxing Day, like on ITV or something like that, you'd watch it, but it's not, I'm not going to go out of my way to go and watch this thing again,
Yeah. Suki97 says, hashtag release the Sandberg cut. So we can start that. But I think we've pretty much covered Shazam, because, like I said, there's not much else to the movie apart from it gives you what it promised you, and that's about it. I like that post-credit scene with Mr. Mind, and so that's it. I mean, but we'll probably stay here for another 20 minutes. We've got another 20 minutes. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else noteworthy that you've seen or heard about?
No, not at the moment. Not that I can, because there's so much rumors, but there's never anything like confirmed. And I only kind of like to speak about stuff when it's confirmed. So,
what did you think about the Joker trailer? Because the more I see it, the more I love it. But what did you think?
The Joker trailer I really liked, man. I really liked, and I kind of I love to see stuff that is different. Right, so when I first saw Doom Patrol, I was like, this thing is absolutely crazy, right? And it's just, you watch because it's just like, what kind of crazy stuff they're going to do next? And I kind of thought, okay, none of this is actually in the comic book, but then when you look at the comic book, it's all in the comic book, right? Yeah. So when you watch the Joker trailer, it's like, wow, this is super different. Right. But it's also at the same time, like, you kind of like feel a little bit sorry for this guy because he's had a lot against him and stuff. And the thing is, I know there's loads of people. I'm a member of loads of DC forums, and unfortunately loads of Marvel forums as well for the podcast. Right. But basically, there's tons of people complaining about this, saying like, oh, they shouldn't show his origin and stuff like that. But the thing is this, right? if you're trying to be more realistic about stuff, okay, what happens to, I know this is a very kind of like liberal point of view, but I don't believe that everybody starts off like bad. You know what I mean? There are things that end up happening in their lives that make them turn into what they turn into. And that journey is really interesting, right? Yeah. So this thing with him is that, he's trying to fight mental illness, man. And you see like just little things like, when he's writing on that paper and he's written, he's writing properly about, the thing about being mentally ill is they expect you to, I can't remember what it was, expect you to behave a certain way or whatever. And his writing really kind of like tails off towards the end. It's really kind of little details like that I love, because I think they're really paying attention here. It's like, you can see his mind is just like slowly going away from him as he's writing down the page. And we're meant to be following that journey. And it's like, you shouldn't feel sorry for the Joker, but when you read The Killing Joke or, it's just like one bad day can turn anybody into anything, basically. Yeah. That story is much more interesting to me than the Joker being a maniacal, I've seen Joker be a maniacal, crazy madman many, many times in print, in comic book films and in animated, right? But what you don't really see is this kind of Joker who's turned into this way because of, a certain reason, and it's like, it will be interesting to see how he's become along that journey. It's just, you can imagine there's going to be inevitable complaints here because, as we've kind of seen, there's like behind the scenes stuff of Birds of Prey where there's a Joker in there, a silhouette of Joker, which kind of looks like Jared Leto. And there's going to be inevitable things when this comes out. Oh, why have we got Jared Leto? Or we should be having this Joker in it, and blah, blah, blah. It's like people are they're not nuanced anymore in anything, But it really, I just like the cinematography of it, the moodiness of it, the really kind of like, machinist kind of feel where he just like, he's physically become ill as well as being mentally ill. Like you can see like he's so skinny and like, he's trying to put like a happy face on it, but he just kind of can't. That psychological stuff, man, is really going to be deep when that film comes out. I'm proper looking forward to it.
Did you see the video I put up of DMX singing?
Yeah. I shared that. I shared that with like so many people, man, because I was like, it's hilarious.
That just came to me on the morning. I was like, I've heard, because the song was stuck in my head. I was I've heard that lyric somewhere. Oh, that's in top 5 when DMX is singing in jail. Oh man, I had to put it together. But there's an actor in the trailer. You see this actor. His name is Brian Tyree Henry. He's a black guy. He's like it's when just before Joaquin Phoenix says what, right? So he's looking at him. So Brian Tyree Henry, he was in If Beale Street Could Talk,
right?
And he doesn't have a big role in that film, but there's one scene in he's like basically he's came out of prison recently, and he's friends with the main character who goes to prison later on, and they're just kind of sitting there in their apartment. They're kind of talking, and he kind of goes into this he starts talking about what things happened to him. He kind of goes into this trance of what like how horrible prison is or was for him, and his acting is so good just in that one scene. I don't think he'll have a big scene in the Joker film, but he was so good in that. So it's good to see him in there. Good to see Robert De Niro, Mark Maron, Shea Wingham. So the cast is looking amazing. It's like
exactly.
And then Joaquin Phoenix, who does not make, and recently he's not made bad films. His performances are amazing over the last few films I've seen him in. So, Todd Phillips, like who would have thought he could do something like this? I mean, I've not seen War Dogs, is it Warhogs or something? But Hangover, I wasn't like that into. But
It's just, it's interesting whenever you have somebody who's done a completely different genre who kind of like, flips over to this. It'll be interesting to see, what is kind of going on with it. But it's really going to be a proper psychological study from what I can see. So, I'm really up for watching that, man. It's going to be a good kind of, separate thing to a lot of the stuff that's kind of coming out around then in that October time.
But the thing is, like, it's good that, and I've said this before, it's good that they're giving us this kind of Elseworlds Joker movie, but what other plans do they have for these kind of one-off movies? They really need to come out and start saying, hey, we've got a one-off Lobo movie. Well, obviously that would be a cost of maybe a bit more budget for that, but what other characters could they do in this kind of budget?
Yeah, I think they're probably going to wait and see what the kind of result is. The thing is this, the Lobo movie is a difficult one, right? Because Lobo is like the most un-PC character you could ever. He's like so un-PC that it's like I can imagine, like I'm not on Twitter. We used to be on Twitter.
Get Rob Zombie to direct it. He would go nuts.
Probably, yeah, exactly. But then get Jason Momoa to play it as well, because then like, everybody would lose their mind. Like, what on earth is going on here? Yeah, it would just it would be. It would be awesome to see a Lobo movie. I'd kind of like to see, like, if they did the Elseworld stuff, like if they did decide to do like backstories based on that they just decided to do all the villains. So, we kind of saw like an Elseworld story, based on the Rogues, or based on Lex Luthor, or based on on Brainiac, or this kind of stuff, then it'll be quite interesting to kind of see how they all have become that kind of way. And then I really like villain led superhero films, so where it's mainly kind of the villain and the superhero is like the second thing that has to stop the villain, rather than the superhero's got the main storyline and the villain just kind of comes and joins in, at the end kind of thing. So,
Kev Rules 06, he says, these guys are more excited for an upcoming film rather than the DC film they just saw. Hey, we talked about it for a half an hour. Okay,
we did.
That's enough.
We did, yeah, exactly. Well, that's just the way it is, And, I mean, the thing is, like, this is the other thing there as well, that critics, for some reason don't seem to understand, even though it's their professional job, and also like bloggers don't seem to understand. Not every film is for every single person.
Yeah.
You can't say like this film is great and this film is bad and whatever. It's like, okay, maybe this film wasn't meant for me. Maybe this is meant for somebody else. Maybe this is something that somebody else could enjoy or whatever. Sometimes you watch a film and it's it's horrendously bad because it's acted badly. There's no decent plot, whatever. Yeah. But sometimes there you have different films, and like with Shazam, like, okay, yeah, I know it was a decent enough film and some people will like rave about it, but for me it was like, yeah, it's all right. I'm not going to write home about it saying how amazing it was. But, then you have something that really does interest you based on your own kind of, your own likes. Then when you see something like Joker, it's like, yeah, if they bring out a trailer for the Batman film, that's the only thing I'm going to talk about for the next, however many years until it actually comes out, regardless of what films come out there in the meantime, because that's my kind of thing that I'm, that you're kind of interested in. You don't have to be loving every single film that comes out and rate it based on, some kind of odd standard,
Yeah. We got someone in the chat, Finn Ballard, he says, Lex Luthor political drama. That would be quite good. Psycho Bevo says, Gerard Butler for Lobo.
Oh my God.
No. No way. Suki97 says...
See, London has fallen. Come on.
Suki97 says, critics hate what they don't understand. That's a good one. Silent K says, Roman Reigns for Lobo.
Oh my goodness. Hey, what's wrong with you people?
This is ridiculous.
No, this is just wrong. That's just wrong, man. That must be trolling, right? That's got to be true. If it is, then I'll commend. Sorry, what was the guy's name?
Silent K.
Silent K. I'll say that is grade A trolling, bruv. Or
he does have a cookie. He does have a Cookie Monster. He has Cookie Monster avatar. So
that's true. The thing is, though, why for Lobo, who is like a charismatic character, you can't choose like the guy who's basically the most uncharismatic on WWE. They're struggling to cut a promo for like forever, and then put him as like somebody like Lobo would not really work, I don't think. But yeah, political drama would be interesting. Like I guess
House of Cards kind of thing.
Yeah, it would always be interesting to see the plays that Lex kind of made to get to where he kind of was. And that I find, there's some things that you see that are like you look at and they're like frightening. So, like the Shazam, the gargoyles or whatever they were in Shazam, they're meant to be frightening when you look at them, right? But there's something more frightening about somebody like Luther, who basically moves behind the scenes, and just like his political maneuverability and the way that he convinces and is conniving kind of ways gets him to certain places and gets him to be able to do certain things there. That to me is scarier, that somebody can go and do all that kind of stuff. I'd be quite interested in watching something like that. But then again, it would be like, oh, it's so depressing. Like, we want to go to cinema to, like, to have fun and like have jokes. So,
you said recently you hadn't heard the word normie before.
Oh no!
So I was surprised at that.
I hadn't know. The thing is, sometimes
so all the Disney families, they're normies.
Okay,
that's what normies are.
Yeah, no. So I never heard it. So because somebody had said that, I think in a YouTube video, and I was like, hey, what does that mean? It's like on the guys on one of our other podcasts, and they were telling me about because my daughter wanted to go and see the My Little Pony film when it came out, right? And they were like, watch out for bronies. And I was like, what's a brony, right? And then I went on the internet, and I really wish I didn't try to find out. So like these guys who love My Little Pony and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, is there going to be people like this in the cinema watching?
Man, I came across so many, just yesterday, so many funny, just tweets from random people talking about Marvel fans. It was hilarious. I want to put a video together about that. So yeah. But did you see Collider? They went a bit nuts about me.
No, what are they going on about?
I put the video up on Twitter. Basically, it was. So what happened was they did like 3 videos about the Snyder Cut and Zack Snyder, right?
Yeah.
And then I was doing a video, but I couldn't be bothered finishing it. It was too long, and I was like, "Fuck this!" So I took some of the clips, put it together, put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it was just basically me. Here's Roxy Stryer. Here's Mark Riley. Here's what's the other guy's name? Josh McCouga and Christian Harloff, right? So they were the 4 panel, and I showed a little bit of all of them and how stupid they are, and how the things they do. And I was like, these are the people you want to listen to when it comes to the Snyder Cut and all that. And then in that video that I was referencing, they do go in like they didn't do their research. They didn't even. I don't think they watched the Snyder Cut, not Snyder Cut, the Snyder event.
Yeah.
And they were just twisting his words and calling him a moron and calling him all sorts of names. And their own viewers were like in the comments attacking them. Well, not attacking them, but explaining to them, "You guys are idiots, right?"
Yeah.
And I pointed that out. And then the other day, they were on. Someone tweeted at me, "Hey, they're talking about you on Collider." I was like,
Oh God.
what's happening now? And that rocks. See, how it starts is Roxy Stryer says, "Oh, did you see that turd of a turd?" And Christian Harloff says, "Don't talk about him." So it's kind of like reversed, like rehearsed that they knew who they say, and they say Josh McCouga's like, "Don't say his name." I was like, so
you're like the Voldemort.
That's someone pointed that out. They were like, the film gob's the Voldemort of Collider, and Roxy Stryer's like, I can't believe. I think to fair, she said, not this guy, but other people who say I'm not a DC fan. I'm like, I didn't say you're not a DC fan, but she did support, Henry Cavill. She says Henry Cavill is her Superman in Justice League. I was like, okay.
Justice League. Okay.
And then Christian Harloff, he did another really bad accent, Scottish accent.
Oh, no.
What did he say? It's all rubbish. It's all bad. It's all something like that. I don't understand what he was saying, but it was really bad. And
let me ask you this, right? The one thing that really confused me, and I've never been able to get an answer to it, so I'm gonna ask you, right? Is that what has Zack Snyder done for these people to like hate him so much? Now I understand like certain people, they do certain things like, Mussolini done certain stuff and Stalin's done certain stuff and stuff. But when I see like, he's like constantly, you get little articles written about him saying he's using Nazi symbols and he's using, Nazi iconography, and he hates his mom and he hates his daughter, and he's a misogynist and he likes this and he likes that, and it's like continuous, like, and some of the things are really bad what they say to him, like, he should kill himself, we're glad his daughter killed himself. What has he actually done, right, as a human, right, to like have this much, like, hey, anything he does, like any event he does or anything is like suddenly you'll get a flood of people just saying stuff.
Yeah. So when he said, you're living in a dream world, you need to wake the F up, that triggered so many people that all the verifieds came out losing their minds. You've got all these, to answer your question, all he's done is give his take on superheroes that other people have already given a similar take. Whether it's Frank Miller or it's anyone else at DC, The Killing Joke, Grant Morrison, they've already given a similar take on some of these characters. So I think it's just the kind of age we live in. We've got social media, we've got these bloggers who are like using this person, that person for political points, agendas. So it's like a real clusterfuck of opinions. So I think that's all it is, but it is weird how he managed to get a lot.
Like, because I see really like, this is one of the reasons why we went off Twitter, is basically because just see really a lot of really hateful stuff, like, saying about his daughter and about him and about his wife and about his mom, and it's like, come on now, this is just silly. The man made a film, or two films, that you didn't kind of like. Okay, fine, you didn't like it, whatever. Don't go and watch it, It's it's the same reason why we don't watch certain films there. But he literally has people saying some of the most hurtful, horrible things, and that's the time when I just think you guys need to lighten up. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Jose M says, "Film gob to Collider. Say my name so that the hate can flow through you." That's a good one.
It's true, man.
I'm going to do a Shorty McShortbread video of some of the comments that Collider made. Make it turn into a Nightmare on Elm Street type of video.
yeah, you should do, man. I'm sorry, but I've got to go now because basically we've got to record our own podcast. So
no problem. So you can shamelessly plug your podcast. Tell everyone where to find you.
So guys, check out DC versus Marvel podcast. You can see it on any of your podcast apps, basically. Yeah, we talk about DC and Marvel news, and we have me, the DC guy, and we have Ash, the Marvel guy, and we just like argue about stuff and agree about other stuff. So yeah, just join us if you can do, man. And yeah, thanks, Shaker, man, for having us on. So
No problem. It's good to have you back on again.
Yes, bro. Yes, bro. I'll chat to you again soon.
Cool. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. Okay, there you go, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. So it's good to have Dr Ooze on the channel. Not had him in here for ages. How long have we been here? We've been here 1 hour and 5 minutes. Should we keep? We've had about 35 people watching the live stream, so not as big a number as usual. Well, we've got 40 people now, but I think because it's a weekday. So, and it is, I did start about 8:30, so not the best time to start. Let's see what you guys are saying. Ponda Bobo says, who is Dr. Ooze? He is the guy you were listening to just now. Or if you just came late, we were talking to Dr. Ooze. Let's see. Suki97 says, YouTube keeps recommending me rant videos on Snyder. I get them as well. I get like, why is the DCEU failing? The DCU is dead. All these dumbass video essays. People hate what they don't understand. Christian Harloff is a failed WWE writer. Fact. Finn Balor says, low-key, Collider are dumbing down internet film culture, just talking about big franchise films. They have a big subscription base, but do they even talk about smaller non-IP films? I think it's easy, like, it's difficult because YouTube doesn't kind of send out, if you do a video on smaller independent films, especially when you've been talking about comic book movies for so long, right? Especially even like my channel, Film Junkie, anyone, you can't just suddenly start talking about other things. So you have to talk about what people are searching for. YouTube is just like a search engine, just like Google. So what are people searching for? Where is the volume coming from? It's coming from searches for Shazam or Captain Marvel or Avengers Endgame. So if you're on YouTube, you need to make content on that, unfortunately. I think JE23 was asking, are y'all on YouTube? I think you're asking about the DC Marvel podcast. They are on YouTube, but I think it's just an account to make comments and stuff on other channels, because I see them here on my channel, but I think they're sticking to podcasting, so you'll need to find them on iTunes and Spotify. They're on there as well, so it's a good show. Ash and Ooze, and they've started doing these kind of little shorter episodes where it's like they cover a topic and they talk about it, or just one person talks about it. And I think they were talking about toxic fan bases, toxic culture, that kind of thing. So you check them out. Is there anything about Shazam that you guys saw that you think we've not discussed? Let me know in the comments. Actually, maybe I should put on some music. Get some tunes up in here. What the hell? Ah, some nice background music, some chill music. Why is there no connection? What's happening here? So yes, Jose aimed some Randall and New music. Jose M says, did you like the adult actors playing Shazam? They were fine, they were good. I just, because all of a sudden they appear towards the end and it's like, how do they know how to use their powers? Like, it's not a shock to them, they're flying about, they're super speeding and all that stuff, so that was kind of moved along really quick, but the actors they chose, yeah, they looked fine. The Rock was not in Shazam. He was a I think he was a producer. I saw his name in the cast, the end credits. So yeah, Dwayne Johnson, I saw his name as one of the producers. I think obviously he's going to be in the sequel. I'm sure they're going to, well, we'll wait and see how the box office does, how the film does at the box office. So it's going to be interesting next couple of weeks, because in 3 weeks, I think Endgame comes out. Is it 3 weeks? Yeah, there were 2 post-credit scenes. I didn't stick around for the second one. I read about it. Didn't sound anything worth waiting for, so I watched the first one. Discussed it earlier. I thought the end animation kind of graphics with the Ramon song was really good. I like that. Hellboy drops in 2 weeks. I think so. Let me have a look. Hellboy. Well, here in the UK it comes out next week, the 11th of April. So that's in 6 days' time. I'll watch it, but I'm not looking forward to it. It looks pretty poor. But it's WrestleMania weekend. Are you ready for this bloody 12-hour wrestling event? Some PG garbage? Man. Doesn't Disney own WWE? Don't they own it? I'm sure I read that they own it. mean, NXT will be good. I think it's Saturday night. So that's always good. Really good NXT takeovers. Even the Royal Rumble is like kind of a waste. It's like pointless. I mean, we get excited for it, but it's kind of... They just changed the storyline to, you know, in the ongoing weeks, in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, just start changing things around. Asuka is got beat. Now Charlotte is the one of the women's champions. Like, what? It's ridiculous. Honda Bobo says, I have a film recommendation, Mary and Max. I think I've seen it. 2009, the best animated movie that no one has heard of. I think I did watch that. I think I watched it in the cinema. The Baz 13. I gave Shazam a 3.5 out of 5. Kevin O'Dogger says, do you ever get the feeling to see a certain genre of film? For example, I was supposed to watch Shazam last night, but I wasn't in the mood to see a comedy. I'll see it when I'm in the mood. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's lots. I'm still trying to watch Triple Frontier. I've still not seen that. Hopefully tomorrow, because you know I know, like, there's a list of films I want to watch, but I have to be in a certain clear mood to watch some films. There's some films that are like different genre I'd rather go to than others. So yeah, I guess you have to be in the mood for it. So like I said earlier, again, Man of Steel, BVS, then you've got Wonder Woman and Aquaman, joint third. I would put Shazam behind them with a 3.5. So yeah, Wonder Woman I've kind of moved up to a 4 out of 5. And Aquaman is a 4 out of 5 as well. So Shazam 3.5, Suicide Squad 3 out of 5. I've not seen the Godzilla 5-minute footage. I don't want to watch it, and I'm sure it's amazing, but I've seen 1 or 2 trailers. They look awesome. I'm happy. Variety is reporting Deadshot will be out of Suicide Squad. I've heard some, I'm not sure if it's, I've not had the chance to catch up, but I've saw people saying that Rick Flag is coming back and Joel Kinnaman is bringing, his Rick Flag is coming back for the film, and Viola Davis as well, so... Maybe Idris Elba might be playing a different character completely. So, okay, Variety is reporting Deadshot will not be in the film, and Idris Elba will be playing a different character. Wow. So see how quick things change. I don't even think, like, the reports you had weeks ago, that was just the media guessing. idiots. Yes, we need Killer Frost. Just do what the animated films have done. Take that, make a movie version of it. Cut out, you want to cut things out, but you know, it's right there for you, DC, Warner Brothers. If you want a good Suicide Squad movie, take one of those, you know, animated movies. Assault on Arkham. Obviously, I mean, that's got Deadshot in it, but you could still do something similar. Hell to Pay. This was pretty cool. What is this? Okay, so we've been here about an hour and 20 minutes. I think we'll end it there. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. Had Dr Ooze come in here. I have to update the title and description just to let people know why this this session lasted longer than usual. So click that like button, share, subscribe. You know what? I'm sure a lot of people came, but they saw they're discussing spoilers. I'm out, so I'm sure those guys will be watching this video later on. I'm going to go and watch other reviews from Shazam from other channels, see what they say, and like I say, there's not much to the movie. It is good, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know if it has that kind of rewatch value. I'll definitely watch it a second time, but more than that, I don't know. So everyone, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, I'm Shaker, and I will catch you later.